Hi, this is Scott Pierce. Today's seminar covers professional responsibility, ethics. It's the only topic that we are guaranteed to see on every administration of the California bar examination. The good news is professional responsibility is a straightforward, easy topic. The not so good news is PR often is crossed over as an issue or a sub-issue on almost any other subject on the exam. In this seminar, we will look both at so-called pure PI questions and questions that cross over into other topics. And we will see the subject again when we get to the crossover section. PR is almost certainly the most common crossover topic, aside from remedies, which, as you know, is omnipresent on every topic, just about, including this one. Have a look at the approach, and you'll see that I break down this topic into three basic categories: the basics of the legal profession, attorney-client relations, and duties to the profession. The latter two are the more commonly tested. And the second cluster of issues is by far the most commonly tested. The basic approach to professional responsibility is this: isolate every single thing the lawyer does and then judge each according to the various standards of professional responsibility. The core of this material is familiar to us from our earlier work. This topic is more about fiduciary responsibility than it is about anything else. So the basic fiduciary duties of loyalty and care are the core of professional responsibility. We'll see that there are a number of other important issues as well, and we'll see that certain issues have been tested much more regularly than others. So, very briefly, let's take a look at my short outline of testable issues. The first category, the basics of the legal profession. Here, we talk about how one becomes a lawyer and how we discipline lawyers. Well, we have yet to have a PR question about becoming a lawyer. I'm reminded of the incident that happened about 20 or 25 years ago where someone in the bar review business accepted a $40,000 payment to take an exam for a student. And this was a male bar exam specialist who dressed like a woman to go sit for the exam. And sadly for him, but happily for the profession, some of his other students recognized him in the exam and turned him in. And so one bar review professional lost his license to practice law, and one candidate for admission never got a chance to become an attorney. I don't think we'll see a question like that anytime soon, but it certainly wouldn't be a hard one to deal with if we did get it. Also, in basics of the legal profession, we talk about disciplining a lawyer. There's never been a question on the bar exam about the actual mechanics of attorney discipline. But many of the questions focus our attention on whether or not an attorney would be subject to discipline for engaging in the various conduct that is outlined in the question. We will certainly be making plenty of decisions about whether or not an attorney's conduct would subject that attorney to discipline. Clearly, the core of this material, and by far the more commonly tested aspects of professional responsibility, deal with attorney-client relations. And you'll see I organize this material more or less chronologically within attorney-client relations. I start out with how attorneys get clients. And here, the most common issues and the most important issues involve advertising and solicitation. The rules are straightforward, and they are tested in a fair amount of detail, as we'll see during the course of this seminar. Next, we deal with keeping a client. Here, we talk about the basic duty of competence, fees, conflicts of interest, and withdrawal. And it's clear that these issues touch on others. Almost any distinction that we make in professional responsibility has to have some aspect of arbitrariness to it, because here, as in all the other subjects, the material really is interconnected. So a conflict of interest issue with regard to keeping a client is very much connected to the duty of loyalty. So, as I say, these distinctions do have an aspect of arbitrariness to them. Next, we consider representing a client. And here, in my judgment, we get some of the trickiest issues, we have the duty of zealousness, the duty to maintain confidences, and, of course, the duties of loyalty and care, and the duty of candor owed to the court. And what we will see in the best constructed PR essay questions will be situations in which these duties are in conflict with each other. And in particular, the criminal defense lawyer faces an ethical minefield on almost every question on the bar exam. And we'll see that the primary duties that a criminal defense lawyer owes are to the client, and that the duties to the tribunal and to opposing counsel take a back seat. They are not eliminated, and this balancing test is a difficult one, both on the bar exam and, as I have personally experienced, in practice. So keep in mind that the examiners often will be testing gray areas, here in professional responsibility as well as in the other topics. So, although there are plenty of instances in which there is a quote-unquote correct answer, by and large, you can have a reasonable amount of wiggle room to come up with answers that are different from one another and will still be deemed passing in the eyes of our friends, the chain-smoking solo practitioners who actually grade this exam. Next, we focus on the duties to the profession. First, prevent the unauthorized practice of law. This is an area that I think is ripe for testing. We haven't really had a lot of unauthorized practice questions, and it's very much in the news. Many, many times across the country over the last 15 or 20 years, we have seen people who are actually paralegals arrested, prosecuted, and disciplined for the unauthorized practice of law. And it is an attorney's responsibility to prevent law clerks, paralegals, legal secretaries, etc. from practicing law. That's the attorney's job, and it can't be delegated. Next, we consider the duty of attorneys to report misconduct, another area that has not really been tested much on California PR essays. And then, finally, the duties of judges. And if you're interested in having a little bit of amusement time during your preparation for the bar, do a search online for judge or judicial misconduct. And you'll get to see a lot of very amusing stories, unless, of course, you are connected to the litigation, in which case it is exactly the opposite of really funny. Okay, so that summarizes professional responsibility. The basic approach is as follows. Identify everything the attorney does, and carefully examine it to see whether or not it lines up with what you understand to be good legal ethics. And remember, anytime a character on any bar exam essay question is an attorney, PR issues could very well be present. Also, keep in mind that anytime we are dealing with what looks to be a PR question involving criminal law, there is a fair chance that there could be crossover questions from criminal law and procedure. And so, that's it. We're ready to get into professional responsibility. We will look both at pure PR questions and at PR crossover questions.